Now we have the remaining part of the text. But Amriel hateful norm forbears not so. He breaks the vial whence the sorrows flow. So Amriel, once again, it had brought 2 bags of sorrows and sighs and griefs from the queen of spleen. It was a most respectful, most hated norm, and it was not satisfied by doing or by inflicting the earlier emotions on Belinda. It was not satisfied with that. What it did, it threw another bag of sorrows on Belinda. Then what happened? Whatever the scene that was created, that was horrible. The nymph in beauteous grief appears. So nymph here is Belinda. So Belinda looked very beautiful in that grievous situation also. Her eyes half languishing, half drowned in tears. So her eyes were half open, and they were filled with tears. On her heaved bosom hung her drooping head, which with a sigh she raised, and thus she said. So she had, because of the grief, she was having a drooping head, and with a sigh she was having sighs and sorrows and grief, as we have seen earlier also, that she was too grievous on this loss of her lock of hair. And she started speaking. Forever cursed be this detested day. She says that this hateful day should ever be cursed, which snatched my best, my favorite curl away, because it has taken away from me my favorite lock of hair. Happy, 10 times happy had I been. She said that I had been 10 times happier when I had that hair before this incident. If Hampton Court these eyes had never seen. She says that even if I had not seen Hampton Court ever in my life, I would have been 10 times happier than this. Yet am I not the first mistaken maid? She says that I am not the first one, the first young lady who has been deceived in this way by love of courts to numerous ills betray. Because she says that the love of courts, this is the love of the court that had brought her to the Hampton Court. She says that the love of courts, it had betrayed, it has deceived a number of females. It has brought ill to a number of females. Oh, had I rather unadmired remained. She says that it was better for me to have remained unadmired if I had lived in a place where nobody would have appreciated my beauties. In some lone isle or distant northern land. She says that it would have been much better that I would have, if I had lived on a lonely island, or if I had lived at a very far off place in somewhere in the north, where the gilt chariot never marks the way. So chariots, basically in those days, the young females, they loved to travel in chariots, so which is driven by 6 horses. So she says that where if I had lived in a very far off place on some island where these chariots were never seen, where I had never traveled in those chariots, I would have been much happier than this. I would have been 10 times happier than this. Where none learn amber, where nobody would ever play amber. Because this is another obsession, this is another vanity of the elite class, that during those days people wasted their time in playing amber. None ever taste bhoya. Bhoya is the black Chinese tea. She says that, so she is talking about all those vanities and frivolities of the elite class. She says that if I had remained unadmired, and if I had not played all these things that I have been doing here in the Hampton Court, if I have lived away from the Hampton Court, if I have not traveled in the chariots, in the where nobody ever knew amber, the game of amber, and where nobody had ever taken that black tea, black Chinese tea, or maybe it is a reference to coffee. There kept my charms concealed from the mortal eye. So there I could hide my charms, my beauty from the eyes of, from the sight of the human beings, like roses that in the deserts bloom and die. So I would have remained in the same place, in the same situation as the roses that bloom in the deserts, and they die there unnoticed. Nobody appreciates their beauty, but I would have I would have been much happier if I had remained in that condition. What moved my mind with youthful lords to roam? She says that I don't understand what was the reason that guided me to move and to roam about with the, or to wander about with the gentleman. Oh, I stay. Oh, had I stayed and said my prayers at home. She says that it would have been much better for me to stay at home and to offer my prayers. It was this, the morning omen seemed. Now she is referring to the bad omen that appeared to her, that she could see in the dream in the morning, and she understood the meaning of that bad omen now. Thrice from my trembling hand the patchbox fell, the tottering china shook without a wind, nay, poles sat mute, and shock was most unkind. So she is is pointing out all those unusual things that day that hinted for something bad, but she could not understand those indications. She says that first of all, the bad omen was there to guide me that there is something bad going to happen that day. Then she says that my hand trembled when thrice the patchbox fell from when she was applying the makeup, thrice the patchbox fell from her hand. The tottering china shook without a wind. She says that those china pots, they shook from her hand even when there was no breeze blowing, there was no wind blowing. Nay, pole sat mute. So even her parrot, Belinda's parrot that was sitting nearby, that parrots are usually famous, they are popular for talking a lot. She says that even the Paul, my parrot, it was also sitting quietly, it was so quiet that it did not utter a single word, as if I had put it on a mute. And shock was most unkind. She says that even the behavior of shock was not kind, it was not as normal as it is usually. So in these lines she is pointing out the different events that hinted the bad omen, or that hinted the occurrence of some bad event. A self to warn me of the threats of fate, in mystic visions now believed too late. She says that there was a self also, a good spirit also in the morning, who warned me, who gave me a warning of the threat of the fate, that there is something bad written in your fate that will occur to you today. And she says that that was a mystic vision of the spirit, and now to believe that I have understood it now, but it is too late by this time. See the poor remnants of these sighted hairs, my hands shall rend what even thy rapine spares. These into sable ringlets taught to break once gave new beauties to the snowy neck. She says that the remaining hair that are, she calls them poor remnants, the leftovers, the poor leftovers. She says that of these slighted hairs. She says that they are, look at their condition, how they are lying now in a miserable condition. She says that my hands will cut them off, the ones that have been left from your hands. Thy rapine spares, thy rapine here refers to the hands of barren. She says that these hair that have been left, that your cruel hands had left, my hands will cut these hair now. These into sable ringlets taught to break, and I had trained them to fall into black curls, once gave new beauties to the snowy neck. Snowy neck here refers to the whiteness of her color, that she is very fair and white, and these two black curls of hair, they gave grace, they gave beauty to her white neck. This sister lock now sits uncouth. Uncouth is crude, uncivilized, untamed. Alone. The sister lock refers to the other lock, because she had grown two curls of hair. She says that the other lock which is left now, it appears to be very untrained, crude and uncivilized, and it is lonely now, and its fellow's fate foresees its own, and uncurled it hangs, and fatal shears demands. She is inviting Baron once again to come with the scissors and cut the other lock of the hair also, because she says that that sister lock, it sees its fate in the fate of its fellow lock. Here fellow's fate foresees. Now fellow's fate foresees, this is a fine example of alliteration. Uncurled, it hangs, it is uncurled. And fatal shears demand, shears here is a reference to the pair of scissors. So it demands, so it is asking for that same pair of scissors that has cut the sister lock. And tempts once more thy sacrilegious hands. So she is tempting, she is inviting him to she is inviting his disgraceful hands to come and cut the other lock of hair also. Oh, hadst thou cruel. She says that you have been so cruel, merciless person, been content to seize that even if you had made up your mind to cut the lock of hair, hairs less in sight or any hairs but these. She says that you could have cut. Now she is not sighing, or she is not sorrowful and grievous on having been those hair cut by Baron. She says that you have cut the lock of hair that is most dearest to me. She says that you have cut that but very lock of hair that was dear to me and that was most in public sight. She says that you have not cut any hair there that were less in sight. So you have not cut those part of the hair that were less publicly viewed. And she says that, or any hairs but these, or any other hairs on the body but that very hair that was in the that was most in public view, and secondly it was very dear to Belinda also. So here we see the irony of the situation, that it's not that she is grievous and sad and she's having this hue and cry over having lost that lock of hair. She says that you, okay fine, even if you had made up your mind, even if you wanted to cut that lock of hair, you could have cut some hair that were not in public view, that were not so much in public view as this lock of hair. And the other reason that she gives, she says that I liked that this was her favorite curl of hair. So this was the end of, with this we end Canto 4. Now we begin with the Canto 5 of The Rape of the Lock. She said, the pitying audience melt in tears. When she was saying all these words, the audience, the people who were present in the Hampton Court, they all listened to her and they burst into tears. But fate and Jove had stopped the Baron's ears. So fate, Jove here is the god of sun. So the god and the fate both had deafened Baron. All these words did not affect him even a little. In vain, Telestrus, she also attacked, she also criticized Baron, but it was useless. For who can move when fair Belinda fails? Because when Belinda's words had no effect on Baron, how could Telestrus convince Baron? Not half to fix the Trojan could remain, while Anna begged and Dido raked in vain. So here he is making, the poet is making a similar comparison. It said that the words of Belinda had no effect on Baron, and this condition can be compared to the Trojan prince who was not moved. So not half to fix the Trojan could remain. So while Anna begged and Dido raked in vain, in the similar way Anna kept on asking for mercy, but Dido did not agree. So these are the two references from the one from the history, from the historical perspective, from the historical background, and the other is from the great epic points. That in Homer's great epic, the Trojan prince Aeneas, he was not moved by anyone, he was so fixed. So in the similar way, Baron could not be moved by Belinda, nobody was able to convince him. Then grave Clarissa, graceful, waved her fan. Silence ensued, and thus the nymph began. So Clarissa, who was very, who appeared very clever and graceful and very serious here, she attracted the attention of people by waving her fan, and silence ensued. but there prevailed silence, and then the nymph began. Nymph here refers to Clarissa, about whom we are talking, that Clarissa started speaking then. Say, why are beauties praised and honored most, the wise man's passion and the vain man's toast? So she says that why beauties praised and honored most, that these are the beautiful women in the world, they are praised and they are honored by the young gentleman, the wise man's passion. She says that men who are very wise, why do they admire, why do they praise, why do they respect the beautiful ladies, and why do they purposelessly keep on vying each other? Why decked with all that land and sea afford? And these beautiful young ladies, they apply lots of they embellish themselves, they decorate themselves by the things that all land and sea produces. So here land and sea refers to the whole universe, that everything, these because the things of beautification, they are जो मेकअप की जो चीज़ें हैं वो पूरी दुनिया से आती हैं, कुछ वो सी की बनी होती हैं, कोई लोशंस हैं, कोई ऑयल्स हैं. सो she is saying that all these objects of beautification that are either produced by the land or the sea, they are used by the beautiful graceful ladies in order to embellish themselves, in order to make themselves more beautiful. Why angels called and angel like adored? So she says that why angels are called, and the one who appears like the angels, they are adored, they are respected, they are loved. Why round our coaches crowd the white gloved beaux? Why bows the side box from its inmost rows? She says that why these young gentlemen, white gloved beaux, fine gentlemen who are wearing, in those days it was considered to be a matter of respect and dignity to wear the white gloves. So they followed the fashion. So fashionable young gentlemen, why do they crowd around the coaches in which the around the coaches and the chariots in which the young beautiful ladies they travel? Why bows the side box from its inmost rows? So why do they all bow in front of those ladies? How vain are all these glories, all our pains, unless good sense preserve, what beauty gains? She says that these all glories, these all artificialities, they are useless, all our pains. She says that we put so much pain, so much of the effort to do all these things, but they are useless. There is no purpose of these. Unless good sense preserve, what beauty gains? She says that unless, with beauty there has to be some good sense also, there has to be some wit, some intellect also, that men may say, when we the front box grace behold the first in virtue as in face. So so that she says that it's not only beauty of the face that should be there, it should be combined with the wisdom also, so that the men could say that here front box grace, front box is basically the ladies box at the theater front, and she says that since ladies are given the front side, the front chairs in the theater, she says that men should say about women, when they combine the virtues, when they combine the chastity of their character along with the good sense. So it is not only the beauty of their physique, their appearance, it should be the beauty of their mind also. So she says that these men, they should acknowledge then that these are excel not only in face, in the grace of their face, these excel their front box in virtue also. Say they are equally respectable as far as their appearance and as far as their character is concerned. Oh, if to dance all night and dress all day charmed the smallpox and chased old age away. She says that if you keep on dancing all night and you keep on getting yourself prepared all day, charmed the smallpox, that the if through applying all that makeup you keep away, you can remain away from smallpox, and you can chase old age away, that you can save yourself from the old age. Who would not scorn what housewife's cares produce, or who would learn one earthly thing of use? To patch, nay ogle, might become a saint, nor could it sure be such a sin to paint. So she says that she is talking about all the vanities of the elite class, that women are interested, they are involved only in the purposeless things, they are only involved in the irrelevant things in the society. She says that whatever the work of the housewife is, who would not hate doing that, or who would learn one earthly thing of use? That these women, they do not know, they do not have any idea of any purposeful thing, they cannot do anything that is of good use. To patch, nay ogle, she says that ogle is a desirous look, might become a saint. So she says that by these one might become a saint, nor could it sure be such a sin to paint. That it is not a sin to paint, it is not a sin to apply makeup on your face, but it is not the only thing in the world. There are other things also that are more important. But since, alas, frail beauty must decay, finally this beauty, it is delicate, it's weak, it has to die, curled or uncurled, since locks will turn to grey. Whether these hair, they are curled or they are not curled, they will turn to grey. Age will pass and they will turn to grey. Since painted or not painted, all shall fade. Whether somebody applies the makeup, somebody embellishes his or her face, the outer appearance or not, everything has to fade, everything has to drown. And she who scorns a man must die a maid. She says that the one who hates men must die a maid, should not get married, and that lady must, because this was the vanity in those days. Even when the women possessed good feelings about men, they did not disclose it, they pretended that they did not care about it. So she says that even the women who pretend that they hate men, they must die. What then remains but well our power to use, and keep good humor still whatever we lose. So she says that what remains after that, that we have to use our powers, and we have to keep good humor. Good humor here refers to the good sense. She says that we have to keep a strong hold of the good sense, no matter what happens. किसी भी तरह के हालात में हमें गुड सेंस को बरकरार रखना चाहिए. Now this good sense, that was lacking in those days, because these elite class, moreover these norms, they were indulged in petty things, and over those petty things they did not keep that good sense in them. And trust me, dear, good humor can prevail. She says that good humor is not, she said that believe me, this good in order to maintain this good humor, it is just not very difficult when airs and flights and screams and scolding fail. She says that the conceits, when these deceptions and the flights and the shouting, it all fails, beauties in vain their pretty eyes may roll, that when the eyes they roll uselessly without any purpose here and there. The next line is very important. It signifies the spirit of the age, and it is common even nowadays, and it is a very debatable topic sometimes. Charms strike the sight, but merit wins the soul. So here, this is a very philosophic line here. Charm strikes the sight, that the beauties in which the 18th century women, they are interested, it only captures the sight, it only captures the eyes of the men, but merit wins the soul. These are your character qualities that lead to eternal appreciation. That sight, the charms that attract sight, they soon fade away, they soon wither, but it is the merit, it is the character, your intellect, your wisdom that remains forever. So spake the dame, but no applause ensued. She spoke that, and so Clarissa finished her speech, but she did not receive any appreciation, no clapping, nothing. Belinda frowned at her. She looked angrily at her. Thyestes called her prude. Thyestes, who were Belinda's friend, she called her a prude. She called her a woman having affected decency. To arms, the fierce virago cries. So the fierce virago cries here, it is a reference to Belinda, that she appeared very angry. She says that we have to take our arms. And swift as lightning to the combat flies, and they all ran to take, they rushed to have the encounter in the battle. All side in parties and began the attack. So all the sides, they took people, they took two sides. Men, they were on the side of Baron, and the females, the ladies, they were on the side of Belinda. Fans clap, silks rustle, and tough whalebones crack. Now since they were moving, since they were all wearing those petticoats, petticoat is a kind of maxi or a frock, लॉन्ग फ्रॉक जो आपके पाँव तक जो है वो आपकी बॉडी को कवर करती है, तो उसके जो आउटर एजेस हैं, जो उसका बिल्कुल किनारा है उसका, उसमें वेल बोन्स लगाई जाती हैं. वेल इज़ अ नेम ऑफ द फिश, और उसकी जो वेल की जो बोन्स हैं वो काफ़ी बहुत बड़ी होती हैं कि उसके आउटर एजेस पे, इन ऑर्डर टू कीप इट स्टिफ, ताकि वो सख्त और अकड़ी हुई रहे. और वो पूरी यू मस्ट हैव ऑब्जर्व कि इंग्लिश जो ड्रेसेस हैं उनकी जो स्कर्ट्स हैं, ये जो उनकी पेटीकोट्स हैं, उनकी जो आखिरी एजेस हैं वो इस तरीके से एक सर्कल सा बनाया होता है फीमेल के गिर्द. सो दोज दे क्रैक्स ड्यूरिंग द टाइम व्हेन दे रश्ड टुवर्ड्स द मेल्स इन ऑर्डर टू अटैक टुवर्ड्स द मेन folk. The fans, they clapped and they produced a warlike sound. Silks rustle, so there was a sound of the silks that they were wearing, and tough whalebones, these whalebones, they cracked. Heroes and heroines' shouts confusedly rise, and bass and treble voice strike the skies. So heroes and heroines here refers to the males, the party of Belinda, and heroes refers to the party of Baron. But it mimics those battles of the ancient times, that these males and females in the Hampton Court, they were presented as the heroes and heroines who are fighting in a war, who are fighting in a battle. And their voices, they were rising, and they striked the skies, and these were bass. These voices of the men and women in the Hampton Court, they were bass, they were low, they were terrible. So since this is the mimicry of an actual war, so definitely everything is mockingly mimicked. No common weapons in their hands are found. They did not, none of them, the men folk and the women folk, none of them, they had the common weapons. They were having different weapons. Like gods, they fight, nor dread a mortal wound. So when bold Homer makes the gods engage, and heavenly breasts like human passions rage, giant Pallas, Mars, Latono, Hermes' arms, and all Olympus rings with loud alarms. So what happened? These men and women, they did not hold any common weapons. They did not have any common weapons like gods. Now this is the simile here. The battle is compared to the Homer's battle, in which the gods on the Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus was the living place of the gods and goddesses. So the gods who live on Olympus, they came, they started having the passions, the angry passions like those of human beings. And since they were heavenly creatures, so in their heavenly bodies, they started having the passion of war like the human beings, and they started fighting against each other. So Pallas fought against Mars, Latona fought against Hermes, and with their sounds, the way Hampton Court was echoed by the noise, by the voices of these males and females. In the similar way, Mount Olympus was filled by the cries and shouting of these gods. And when these gods, they fought, they were not fearful of the mortal wound. They were not afraid of the wound. Jove's thunder roars, by the time, and they kept on fighting. By the time the god of sun, Jove, it thundered, his thunder broke the silence, and heaven trembles all around. That this roar, it was so loud and it was so strong that even the heavens trembled. Blue Neptune storms, the billowing deeps resound. So the Neptune is the god of sea. So there was a storm in the sea because of that roaring, and the billowing deeps resound, and it resounded in the depths of the earth. Earth shakes her nodding towers, the ground gives way, and the pale ghosts start at the flash of this. So this was the time, it says that there was a kind of situation that was created, a kind of earthquake was there, because earth started shaking because of the roar of that god. It was so filled with anger that the earth started nodding towers. It started trembling, it started moving, everything that was present on its surface, and the ground, it gave way. There were cracks on the ground of the earth, and through those cracks, the light of the day, it entered the underworld, and the pale ghosts who were present in the layers of the earth, they were disturbed because of this shaking of the earth. So here it refers to the earthquake, that the thunder of the god Jove was so severe, it was so powerful that it shook it made the heavens tremble, and it shook the earth, and everything on the earth, on the surface of earth, started moving. Triumphant Umbriel on a sconce's height clapped his glad wings and sat to view the fight. So now Umbriel, was the bad spirit, was successful in its plans, because earlier Belinda was just crying and shouting. Umbriel was not satisfied, so he threw some more sighs and sorrows and grief on Belinda so that it could really have fun. So this was Umbriel's mischief, that all this war started. Clapped in glad wings. So it sat on a high place at the candle holder in order to see the fight, in order to have a view of the fight that he had just started. And it's moved its wing, it flapped its wings, propped on their bodkin spears. The spirits survey the growing combat or assess the fray. Fray is the fight. So the spirits, the other spirits who were present there, some of them, they sat on the hairpins of the that appeared like the spears, while some of these spirits, they helped one or the other side as the fight, as the battle was growing in its stature. While through the press enraged Thalestris flies and scatters deaths around from both her eyes. Now since it is the mimicry of the original battle, so Thalestris, who was angry, who was very angry, so through that anger she just flew towards one of the side, and she made a number of people, she put them to death because of her eyes. Above and welting perished in the throng. One died in metaphor and one in song. So she killed Abhyau and a witty person. They were put to death. One died in metaphor, one metaphorically died because of her eyes, because of the rage and the anger in her eyes, and the other died while he was singing a song. O cruel nymph, a living death I bear, cried dapper wit and sung beside his chair. So there was another one whose last words were that you are a cruel lady, a living death I bear. He says that I am suffering from a living death, and he was a dapper. So a dapper said that, and just then he fell from his chair. He fell from beside his chair. A mournful glance Sir Fopling upwards cast. So there was a sorrowful, there was a sad look by Sir Fopling, and he looked upwards to the skies, Those eyes are made so killing was his last, and the last words that he uttered were that these eyes are made to kill. Since it is a mimicry of the original battles, so in these lines we find that these ladies, they were able to kill the men through their eyes, through the rage and anger in their eyes. Thus on Meander's flowery margin lies the expiring swan, and as he sings he dies. When bold Sir Plume had drawn Clarissa Dawn, Cold swept in and killed him with a frown. She smiled to see the doughty hero slain, but at her smile the beau revived again. So Meander is the river in Turkey. So on the borders, on the side of thus the scene is compared to the river side of Turkey, where the flowers blossom and the swan that starts singing a song there, it dies then, and as he sings, as he dies. When bold Sir Plume had drawn Clarissa Dawn, so then Clarissa moved towards Sir Plume and Cole swept in. But Sir Plume was very bold, he was so brave that he survived, but Cole stepped in. Cole was another lady, she came in and she killed him with a frown. So there she cast a frown on Sir Plume, and he was about to die. She smiled to see the doughty hero slain. So doughty hero, a very brave and powerful, resolute hero. So Clarissa smiled at this sight of the hero having been slain because of a frown. Because of this smile, the beau, the gentleman, he revived again and he moved back towards life, and he was again ready for another round of fight. Now Jove suspends his golden scales in air. Now Jove is the one, the god, is ready to decide that which side is the one who has to win, whether the men or the females. Weighs the men's wits against the ladies here. So how would it decide that who has won? The intellect, the wisdom of men. On the other hand, the ladies here will be weighed, and whatever is greater, that side will win. The doubtful beam long nods from side to side. So it was a very difficult decision to be made, and for a very long time the decision could not be made because the line or the beam, it remained uncertain. At length the wits mount up, the hairs subside. So there were different tendencies. Sometimes the wit was greater and the hair were lesser, and at other times it was the reversal of it. See fierce Belinda on the Baron flies. So finally now Belinda, it rushed towards Baron with more than usual lightning in her eyes, and her eyes were glittering, they were shining, and they had the shine that was something extraordinary, that was unusual. Nor feared the chief the unequal fight to try, who sought no more than on his foe to die. So Baron, he was not afraid of this death because he wanted to die in the hands of his enemy, and he accepted that he was not an equal to this to her fury, and he withdrew from the fight. But this bold lord with manly strength endued, she with one finger and a thumb subdued. So he continued his strength, because he was very, this Lord Baron, he was very bold, and he was a gentleman. But the lady, she had with her one of her finger and a thumb, she overcame that gentleman. Just where the breath of life his nostrils drew, a charge of snuff the wily virgin threw. So she used a trick. She threw some snuff powder there. In those days there was a tradition, there was a culture of using the snuff powder. After sniffing this powder, it will induce sneezing. So she took in her finger and in her with the help of her finger and a thumb, she took some powder and she threw it in at the place from where he was about to take his breath, and just he inhaled all that powder into the cavity of his nostrils. The gnomes direct to every atom just the pungent grains of titillating dust. So the gnomes, the bad spirits, they directed, they made every possible, they did every possible step in order to make every particle of that powder that she threw reach Baron's nose. The pungent grains of titillating dust, so it reached his nose. Sudden with starting tears, each eye overflows. So his eyes started to overflow with the tears, and the high dome re-echoes to his nose. And the dome here refers to the Hampton Court, and the high dome of the Hampton Court, it echoed with his sneezing. Now meet thy fate, incensed Belinda cried. Since she was very angry, so she shouted, she cried at him now, that now you have met your real fate, and drew a deadly bodkin from her side, and she beseemed his ancient personage to deck, and she took out a pin from her side, a fatal pin from her side, and it was the same pin that she had inherited from her family, that was used in her family to embellish. His great-great-grandsire wore about his neck in 3 seal rings, which after melted down formed a vast buckle for his widow's gown. Now his grandfather, he used to wear it around his neck in the form of a seal ring, in the form of a ring that had his name engraved on it. He used to wear that in his lifetime, and when he died, after that it was melted down and it took the form of a buckle that was used by his wife, by his grandma, it was used by his grandma for her gown. Her infant grandma's vessel next it grew. So when her grandma was young, when she was a child, she used to play with it. The bells she jingled and the whistle blew. Then in a bodkin graced her mother's hair. So she used to play bells. She used to use it for playing the bell and for making the whistle out of it. Then in a bodkin graced her mother's hairs. So then in the form of a hairpin, it was given to her mother, and her mother used to use it, which long she was. She used to use it for her hair. She used to apply it. She used to make styles of her hair by using that hairpin. And now Belinda wears, and now it is with Belinda and she wears it. So this very pin of Belinda, it is ancestral. She had inherited it from her family. Boast not my fall, he cried, insulting foe. Now Baron said, he says that you should not boast of your victory on my fault. You are an insulting enemy. You have insulted me. Thou by some other shalt be laid as low. Nor think to die dejects my lofty mind. All that I dread is leaving you behind. Now Baron, what did he say? He says that something that you have done is very low. It is very mean. He says that do not think high of yourself. To die, it's sad. It makes me sad. It makes my mind sad, because I am fearful of leaving you behind. That rather than so, let me still survive. He says that let me survive, let me live more, and burn in Cupid's flame. Cupid, as we have discussed earlier, also is the god of love. So he says that I want to burn myself in the flames of love, in the fire of love, but burn alive. So I will be burnt alive, and I will live, and I will keep on longing for your love. I will burn alive in the fire of love for you. Restore the lock, she cries, and all around restore the lock. The vaulted roofs rebound. So she demanded her lock of hair back. She cried out, she shouted, and everywhere her the echo of her voice, restore the lock, was heard. No, not fierce Othello in so loud a strain roared for the handkerchief that caused his pain. Even in his here the poet compares her crying out for her lock of hair with Othello's pain, that Othello who cried out for his handkerchief that had caused his pain. The poet compares Othello's voice with Belinda's voice. He says that Belinda's voice was greater as compared to Othello's voice. So this is a mimicry. He is comparing the incidents of the rape of the lock to the incidents of some greater plays and poems and the epic poems. But see how oft ambitious aims are crossed, and chiefs contend till all the prize is lost. And he says that how the ambitious aims, the desires, they are overcome, and chief contend, they resist till all the prize is lost. The lock obtained with guilt and kept with pain, in every place is sought, but sought in vain. With such a prize no mortal must be blessed, so heaven decrees with heaven, who can contest? So finally they looked for that lock of hair everywhere in that Hampton Court, but they could not find that lock of hair anywhere. It was useless to look for the lock of hair because probably the poet says that it was a prize, it was a reward, and no mortal, the heavens had decided that no human being can have the possession of that lock of hair. The last line, with heaven who can contest? Nobody can question heavens for deciding such a fate of the lock of hair. Some thought it mounted to the lunar sphere, since all things lost on earth are treasured there. Their heroes' wits are kept in ponderous vases, and views in snuff boxes and tweezer cases. So it says that some of the people, they started thinking that they think that it is a common belief that the things that are lost on this earth, they enter the sphere of the moon. So some thought this lock of hair has entered, it has reached the sphere of the moon, and it is preserved on moon, because it was a common belief that all the things that are lost on the earth, they are treasured, they are kept safe on the surface of sun. The heroes' wits, they are kept in different huge vases, and the bravery of the gentleman, that is also kept in the snuff boxes and the tweezer cases on the surface of moon. Their broken vows and deathbed arms are found. So the broken vows and the deathbed arms refers to the arms that are given by the people who are about to die, and the lovers' hearts with ends of ribbon found, the courtiers' promises and sick men's prayers, the smiles of harlots and the tears of hears, cages for gnats and chains to yoke a flea, dried butterflies and tombs of casuistry. So he says that all these things are found on the surface of moon. They are treasured, they are kept safe on the surface of moon. He says that the broken vows, they are found there, that even the deathbed arms are found, and the lover's heart and the courtiers, the promises that courtiers make, because those promises are not usually fulfilled, and the sick man's prayers, they are also placed there, they are also kept safe, they are preserved on the surface of moon, and the smiles of harlots and the tears of hears, because those tears of hears, they are usually crocodile tears, because these hears, they are inheriting lots of property from the dying man. So those tears are also kept safe on the surface of moon. The cages of nuts and the chains to yoke a flea to catch the birds, and the dried butterflies and the tombs of the principles of the moral questions, these all things are kept safe, they are preserved on the surface of moon. But trust the muse, she saw it upward rise, though marked by none but quick poetic eyes. The poet says that trust the muse, the muse of poetry. She has seen the lock of hair rising upwards towards the sky, and it says that nobody else can see, no human eye can see the rising of that lock of hair towards the skies. It is only the poetic eyes, it is only the eye of the muse of the goddess of poetry who could see it. So Rome's great founder to the heavens withdrew to Proculus alone confessed in view. So Rome's founder was taken to heavens, and Proculus was the one who confessed, who said that I am the witness of founder of the Rome having flown to the heavens. So in the similar way, he is comparing the same situation, that the goddess of poetry, the muse of poetry, says that she has seen the lock of hair flying up to the heavens. A sudden star, it shot through liquid air and drew behind a radiant trail of hair, and it moved like a sudden star, and behind it there was a queue, there was a line of hair, there was a train of hair that followed it. Not Berenice's locks first rose so bright, the heavens bespangling with the dishevelled light, the selves behold it kindling as it flies, and pleased pursue its progress through the skies. So it says that not even the Egyptian queens locks were the ones who were the first one to rise to the to be so bright, to have risen to the heaven. And the heavens have embellished, they have decorated it with the ornaments of light, and the selves can see moving it towards the skies, and pleased pursue it progress through the skies, and it could see it as long as it reached the skies. This the Beaumont shall from the mall survey, and hail with music its propitious ray. So the high society can see all this from the mall, can view all this scene. Mall is the Pall Mall in mall refers to the Pall Mall. It is a fashionable shopping mall in London. So she says that it can be viewed, the high society can view it from the Pall Mall, and hail with music its propitious ray. And the blessed lover who would he would take it as if Venus, the goddess of beauty, had sent it for him. And the vows from the Hyde Park, from the lake of the and send up the vows from the lake of the Hyde Park. This partridge soon shall view in cloudless skies, when next he looks through Galileo's eyes, and it could be seen on the sky, on the cloudless sky, when it is all clear, through the telescope, which is invented by Galileo. So the Galileo, through the telescope, it could be seen in the center of the sky, and hence the egregious wizard shall foredoom the fate of Louis and the fall of Rome. Then sees bright nymph to mourn the ravished hair, which adds new glory to the shining sapphire. She says that it could be viewed, and through that the astrologers will be, because of this, the astrologers, and through that the astrologers would be able to prophesize the fall of the fate of Louis, who is the king of France, and they will be able to prophesize the fall of Rome also. He says that you are a bright nymph, you are very you should be happy, and you should not lament on the loss of this lock of hair, because it has added glory to the beauties of the atmosphere, to the beauties of the skies. Not all the tresses that fair head can boast. She says that all those locks of hair that women grow on their head shall draw such envy as the lock you lost. They said that nobody ever has such a kind of, no lock of hair of any female ever had such a fade as it would become the part of the skies. So you should not lament, you should not mourn the loss of this lock of hair. For after all the murders of your eyes, so she says that after you have you have killed so many people through your eyes, when after millions slain, yourself shall die. She says that it's not that you only kill others. Finally, even when you kill millions of others, you yourself will also die, when those fair suns shall set, as set they must, and all those tresses shall be laid in dust. This lock the muse shall consecrate to fame, and midst the stars inscribe Belinda's name. She says that the sun will set. Here sun setting refers to her own life, the sun of her own life, that she is also going to die one day, and she has to die. As there is sun that rises every day, it has to set one day. And in the similar way, all the locks of hair, all those eyes, they will be mixed with the dust. They have to go into the earth. In the similar way, the locks of hair, they will also be a part of the dust. This lock, she says that the muse shall consecrate to fame. She says that the muse will dedicate this lock of hair to fame, and through this lock of hair, Belinda's name will be inscribed in the middle of the stars in the skies. So she says that because of her lock of hair, her name will become immortal, that will become everlasting, and it will be written on the skies. So, otherwise, the other lock of hair that she has, or her eyes, everything, even her body, this is all mortal, but that lock of hair has become immortal. So in the end, poet tries to console Belinda by these words, that because of this lock of hair, she will be able to, or her name will become immortal.